Excellencies, distinguished guests, I don't think I'll take too much of my time here. I would like to call upon those who are managing the national anthem and the East African anthem to get ready.
God save our gracious Queen, long live our noble Queen. God save the Queen, send her victorious, happy and glorious, long to reign over us. God save the Queen. Mungu twaomba uilinde Jumuiya Afrika Mashariki, tuweze kuishi kwa amani, tutimize malengo yetu. Jumuiya yetu tuilinde, tuwajibike, tuimarike. Umoja wetu ni nguzo yetu, na idumu jumuiya yetu.
So distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, it is now my honor to welcome His Excellency Ambassador Manoa Esipisu to come and give his remarks. Karibu Balozi.
Your Excellencies, Ambassadors and High Commissioners, distinguished guests of international multilateral organizations, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, it's a pleasure to be with you all today. We meet here 56 years after the first night of our liberty, to remember the men and women who won it for us, to reflect on our journey since, and to reflect also on the relations with our friends and partners, chief among them, the United Kingdom. We start with reflection on our heroes, not least because their example still lights our way today. Kenya was once unfree. I'm sure you wouldn't have guessed that. We could not vote for our representatives or our head of government. Indeed, even the idea of representative government was thought beyond us. That unfreedom was enforced by generations of racial exclusion. There are still men and women alive today who can remember what it was like to be subject to the caliber, and what it was like to be paid less for doing the same work as a white worker, and what it was like to be disrespected because of race. Our heroes, from Kimathi to Kenyatta, from Mboya to Murumbi, and from Odinga to Makan Singh, they gave everything to overthrow that tyranny. And some fought heroically, others marched, and others withdrew their labor, yet others adopted the legal and political negotiations by which our liberty was secured. In their persistence, in their rejection of the cruelty and racism of colonial order, in their conviction that Kenya would be free, prosperous, and at peace with its neighbors and its past, they set an example to be emulated by the inheritors of the freedom that they so painfully won. What have we made of that freedom that was bequeathed us? And have we lived up to the standard our heroes set? I think we have to a large extent. Kenya has made peace with its history, with its neighbors, and our relationship with the United Kingdom is strong, and we have made every substantial progress in reconciliation. In East Africa, as in Africa more widely, Kenya has remained what it was at independence, a force for peace, for mutual understanding, for multilateral cooperation between peoples. War is not our way. Democracy is, has always been, and friendship is and has always been. The half-century since independence has seen great growth in prosperity and freedom. Kenyans today live nearly twice as long as we did at independence. Kenya, fulfilling a promise that dates back to independence, has had universal primary education for years now, and now has 100% transition to secondary school from primary school under a new curriculum. We can also fairly say that the average Kenyan takes home more than at independence, or the independence generation did. But ladies and gentlemen, perhaps most importantly, our government reflects the dignity of our people, that they are, that they can, and we hope they will always be able to choose their own leaders, including their own head of state. Our representatives are directly accountable to us, and we live under a constitution and laws that we made and ratified ourselves. The dream of our fathers, a self-governing African nation, has been fulfilled in our time. These are mighty achievements by any standard and at any time. Kenya has much to be proud of, but we cannot begin to pretend that the story is over. Too many of our children still do not get first-class education, and too many of our entrepreneurs lack the finance and the skilled assistance their ingenuity deserves. So it falls on us to continue taking the actions to deliver on this, and the administration of President Uhuru Kenyatta is deploying everything in its arsenal to this end. Let me take up, if only briefly, 2 points. One is opening up trade, both bilateral, internal and external, so that Kenya can compete. And secondly, the making of Kenya's voice heard. I feel particularly passionate about this, not least because in my previous life, I saw for myself just how powerful an engine of prosperity trade can be. I've seen what a force Kenya and Britain's trade relations and trade arrangements have been for the good of both countries, and it's not just the business itself. It's also because partnerships, friendships, and alliances that follow trade are always good for the prosperity of the peoples of both nations. From tea, and you'll know that in every 2 cups of tea you drink here in Britain, 1 of it is from Kenya, to minerals. I've seen for myself how British investment now underpins a huge segment of Kenya's trade and makes Kenya's lives better. And so one of my many main commitments here and going forward is a simple one: to do everything in my power to connect the entrepreneurs of both countries to each other so that both can build the businesses and create the high quality jobs that the industry and the invention of our people deserve. The second and last, you'll be relieved to hear, is a point that I have already foreshadowed: making Kenya's and some might even say Africa's voice heard. A minor historical digression, I think, is in order here. In the years after independence, Britain was among Kenya's closest allies. In international affairs, we valued and still do the advice and assistance that Britain generously offered us. Looking back, it's fair to say that that relationship has worked for Kenya and for Britain. Britain disposed us to favor multilateral institutions, to look instinctively to diplomacy, to settle disputes, and to defend basic democratic freedoms where they were threatened. These values and virtues need defending now, which is one of the reasons that Kenya has offered its candidature for a non-permanent seat on the United Nations Security Council at the next election. We look forward to Britain's support for that candidacy because we look forward to speaking even more persuasively about these values and about what Africa needs at this point in time at the very heart of the United Nations for the values that we call our own. In conclusion, ladies and gentlemen, Kenya's modern journey might have begun with the tragedy of colonialism, but it did not stay there. We won our freedom, we reconciled with Britain, and we have turned to building the prosperity and freedom that our people earned and our people deserve. May I now propose a toast. To the strong relations between our two nations, and to the long life and health of Her Majesty the Queen. The Queen. Yes.